When you begin to understand your own value, you realize that constantly being available, constantly giving, and constantly seeking validation from others is the quickest way to lose yourself. We've been conditioned to believe that the more we do for others, the more they will appreciate us. But in reality, when something is always there, always accessible, always within reach, its worth diminishes. It's human nature to assign greater value to what we feel we might lose. And this is why stepping back, withdrawing, not as an act of defiance, but as a conscious choice, allows you to evolve. The key is not to disappear in bitterness or resentment, but to withdraw into yourself with intention. Most people spend their lives externally focused, always reacting, always responding, always seeking. But if you never take the time to disconnect from the outside world, you never give yourself the space to reconnect with yourself. And when you don't know yourself, you allow the world to dictate your worth. Stepping back does not mean you are abandoning relationships or neglecting people. It means you are choosing to prioritize your own growth. When you stop filling every moment with distractions, when you stop running after people who don't appreciate you, you create a void. And in that void, something powerful happens. People begin to notice your absence. They start to recognize the energy you brought into their lives. They begin to feel the space you used to occupy, and in doing so, they come to appreciate what they may have taken for granted. But the real transformation isn't just about making others miss you, it's about what happens to you when you choose to step back. In that silence, in that solitude, you begin to hear yourself more clearly. You start to reconnect with the parts of you that were drowned out by the noise of constantly being available. You start to feel your own presence in a way that no external validation could ever provide. And in that moment, something shifts. You no longer crave attention. You no longer seek approval. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You realize that your energy is valuable. Your time is precious. And your presence is not something that should be given away freely to those who do not cherish it. This shift is magnetic. When you withdraw to evolve, you naturally become more attractive, not just to people, but to opportunities, to success, to abundance. You are no longer operating from a place of need, but from a place of self-assurance. And the world responds to that. But here's the challenge. Most people struggle with this because they fear being forgotten. They fear that if they step back, the people in their lives will move on. But let me ask you, if your absence causes someone to move on without hesitation, were they ever truly meant to be in your life? If your presence is only valued when you are constantly giving, constantly chasing, constantly proving, then what does that say about the nature of that relationship? The truth is, those who genuinely appreciate you will feel your absence. They will recognize your value not because you demanded it, but because your energy, your presence, your essence is something that cannot be replaced. And those who do not notice, those who continue as if you were never there, well, that is your answer. That is your freedom. But more importantly, beyond what others feel, beyond how others react, withdrawing to evolve is about your own transformation. It's about stepping into your power, about creating space for growth, about shifting your focus from external validation to internal alignment. Because when you truly see your worth, when you no longer need to prove it, You become someone people cannot ignore, not because you are trying to be noticed, but because your energy speaks louder than words. So, step back. Take time for yourself. Stop filling every silence with conversation, every moment with distraction, every connection with overgiving. Let them miss you. Let them feel your absence. But more importantly, let yourself feel your own presence. Because when you do, you don't just raise your value in the eyes of others. You elevate yourself to a place where only those who truly see you will rise to meet you. Most people go through life searching for love, for validation, for recognition, for something outside of themselves to make them feel whole. They chase relationships, approval, and attention, believing that if they can just get the right person to notice them, the right opportunity to come their way, the right words from someone they admire, then they will finally feel valued. But the truth is, the more you seek, the more you push it away. Because when you chase something, you are telling the universe that you do not have it. You are reinforcing the very lack that you are trying to escape. There's a reason why the people who are the most in demand are often the ones who seem least concerned with seeking attention. They do not run after validation. They do not beg for approval. They do not seek to be chosen. Instead, they become. They cultivate themselves. They build their skills, their energy, their presence. They focus on their own growth rather than waiting for someone else to define their worth. And in doing so, they become the kind of person that others naturally gravitate toward. You have to ask yourself, are you the seeker or are you the source? Are you constantly looking outward, hoping that someone will tell you that you matter, that you are special, that you are enough? Or are you so in tune with yourself, so confident in your value, that you no longer need external validation? Because when you become the source of your own fulfillment, your energy shifts. You are no longer trying to prove yourself. You are no longer operating from a place of lack. You are no longer desperate for someone to see you. Instead, you see you. And when that happens, everything changes. People can feel when someone is seeking. They can sense when you are trying too hard, when you are overextending, when you are giving more than you should in the hopes of receiving something in return. And the more you do this, the more others take you for granted, not because they are unkind, but because they mirror back the energy you are putting out. If you act like you need them to see you, they will subconsciously believe that they are the prize, that they hold the power, that they have something you do not. But when you shift, when you stop seeking, when you stand in your own presence and recognize your own value, the dynamic reverses. You no longer give your energy away freely. You no longer seek to be seen. And in doing so, you become undeniable. This is not about arrogance. It is not about playing games. It is about understanding that when you become whole within yourself, when you focus on your growth, your peace, your power, you emit a different frequency. People feel it, they recognize it, and they respond to it. It is why some individuals command respect the moment they walk into a room, not because they are loud, not because they are demanding attention, but because their energy speaks before they do. They are the source. They do not chase, they attract. And this is the key. You do not need to beg for what is already meant for you. You do not need to prove yourself to those who cannot see your value. You do not need to constantly remind others of your worth. The right people will recognize it. The right opportunities will find you, but only when you stop looking outward and start cultivating inward. So the next time you find yourself seeking validation, stop. Turn your attention inward. Ask yourself, what am I lacking within that makes me feel the need to chase something outside of me? What part of me needs to be strengthened, nurtured, cultivated? And then do that work. Build yourself, elevate your mindset, develop your skills, heal the wounds that make you feel like you are not enough. And as you do, you will notice something incredible. You will no longer be waiting for people to appreciate you. You will no longer need recognition to feel whole. You will no longer seek approval as if it is something that defines your value, because you are the source. And when you become that, the world will take notice. Not because you asked it to, but because it is impossible to ignore someone who has truly stepped into their own power. Most people live their lives trying to control outcomes, trying to make people stay, trying to force connections, trying to shape circumstances according to their expectations. But the truth is, the more you try to hold on, the more you push things away. The energy of desperation repels while the energy of confidence attracts. When you are overly attached to how things unfold, when you depend on a specific outcome to feel secure or valued, you give your power away. You allow your sense of self-worth to be dictated by things outside of you. And in doing so, you create resistance. The key to raising your value is learning to let go, not in the sense of giving up, but in the sense of trusting. Trusting that what is meant for you will stay. Trusting that you do not have to convince the right people of your worth. Trusting that when you detach from the need for external validation, you become magnetic. Because real confidence does not come from controlling situations, it comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you will be fine. Think about the most powerful individuals, the ones who command respect effortlessly. They do not beg for attention. They do not chase approval. They do not cling to what does not serve them. They move through life with a sense of ease, an unshakable belief that what is meant for them will align naturally. This is the energy of someone who has mastered detachment. This is the energy of someone who knows their value and refuses to negotiate it. Many people fear detachment because they associate it with indifference. But detachment is not about being cold or uncaring. It is about emotional strength. It is about being fully present in your relationships and experiences while also understanding that you do not own or control them. It is about giving love, respect, and effort freely, without expecting something in return to validate your worth. When you live this way, you free yourself from the emotional turbulence that comes from needing things to go a certain way. You stop overanalyzing, overthinking, and overextending. Instead, you focus on who you are becoming. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop grasping so tightly, the right people and opportunities begin to flow into your life effortlessly. People are drawn to those who exude inner peace, those who are whole within themselves, those who do not need but simply choose. This is the essence of true power. When you detach from the outcome, you communicate that your worth is not up for debate. And when people sense that you do not need them to validate you, they start valuing you more. But to truly detach, you must first confront your fears. The fear of being forgotten. The fear of losing something or someone. The fear of not being enough. These fears are what keep you stuck in cycles of seeking, proving, and overgiving. But when you realize that your value does not diminish just because someone fails to see it, you step into a new reality. You stop fearing loss because you know that what is lost was never truly yours to begin with. You stop seeking approval because you understand that the right people will see you without you having to prove anything. This shift in mindset does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop attaching your self-worth to things outside of you. It means you show up fully, love deeply, give freely, but also walk away when something is not in alignment with your growth. It means that instead of clinging, you trust. Instead of controlling, you flow. Instead of seeking, you become. And in that becoming, you naturally attract what is meant for you, not by force, but by presence. So let go. Detach from needing a specific response, a specific outcome, a specific validation. Stand in your own power, knowing that what aligns with your highest self will never require you to chase it. When you no longer fear losing, you win. When you no longer need approval, you rise. And when you finally detach from the outcome, you free yourself to live, to love, and to receive everything that was meant for you all along. The way you allow others to treat you is a direct reflection of the standards you set for yourself. If you are always available, always saying yes, always overextending yourself, you are sending a message not just to others, but to yourself, that your time, your energy, and your presence are not valuable. And when you fail to set boundaries, when you give freely without discernment, people will naturally assume that what you offer is limitless, easily accessible, and therefore less significant. Raising your value is not about demanding respect from others. It is about demonstrating through your actions that you respect yourself. It is about recognizing that not everyone deserves your energy, not every opportunity is worth your time, and not every relationship is meant to be nurtured. When you set boundaries, you are not pushing people away. You are simply teaching them how to engage with you. Those who truly appreciate you will rise to meet your standards, while those who were only there for convenience will naturally fade away. Many people hesitate to raise their standards because they fear losing connections. They worry that if they stop always being available, if they say no, if they start valuing themselves more, they will push people away. But the truth is, the right people will not be repelled by your self-respect. They will be drawn to it. And the ones who fall away, they were never truly invested in you to begin with. Think about the individuals you admire, the ones who command attention effortlessly. They are not the ones who chase approval or bend over backward to please everyone. They move with certainty, with self-assurance, with an unspoken confidence that they do not need to beg for anyone's time or recognition. They set the terms for how they are treated, not through force, but through presence. When you raise your standards, when you no longer tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or half-hearted effort, you naturally start attracting people and opportunities that align with your worth. This is not about arrogance. It is about self-awareness. It is about knowing what you bring to the table and refusing to accept anything less than what you deserve. Too often, people lower their standards out of fear fear of being alone, fear of missing out, fear of being seen as difficult. But settling for less than you deserve does not bring you closer to love, success, or happiness. It only distances you from yourself. The key is to stop negotiating your worth. Stop making excuses for people who do not value your presence. Stop justifying behavior that does not align with the level of respect you give to others. The moment you decide that your energy is precious, that your time is valuable, and that your presence is a privilege, everything shifts. People start noticing the difference. They begin to realize that your attention is not something to be taken lightly. And in that realization, they either rise to meet your standards or they fall away. Either way, you win. But this shift has to start within. You cannot expect others to see your worth if you do not fully recognize it yourself. You must be the first person to respect your own boundaries, to honor your own time, to value your own presence. You must show yourself the love, the care, and the priority that you so freely give to others. And when you do, the world will reflect that back to you. This is not about playing games. It is not about creating distance just to make people want you more. It is about understanding that when you respect yourself, others follow suit. It is about realizing that true connection, true appreciation, and true love can only exist in spaces where mutual respect is the foundation. And that starts with you. So, do not be afraid to raise your standards. Do not be afraid to walk away from what no longer serves you. Do not be afraid to demand more, not with words, but with action. Because when you do, you will notice something incredible. The people who truly see you, who truly value you, will meet you at your level. And those who do not, they will make room for the ones who will. Your energy is one of the most valuable things you possess, yet most people give it away without thinking. They invest it in people who drain them, in situations that do not serve them, in worries that do not change anything. And in doing so, they deplete themselves, leaving little room for what truly matters. But when you begin to understand the power of your energy, when you learn to direct it with intention, everything in your life starts to shift. Most people move through life on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, responding to external demands, and allowing their energy to be scattered in every direction. They feel exhausted, unfulfilled, and disconnected from themselves. Yet they rarely stop to ask why. The reason is simple. They have not taken control of where their energy flows. They have not learned the art of preservation, of discernment, of knowing when to engage and when to step back. Raising your value is not just about how others perceive you. It is about how you show up for yourself. It is about recognizing that your energy is a form of currency, and where you choose to invest it determines what you receive in return. When you give your energy freely to everything and everyone, without thought or intention, you dilute its power. But when you become selective, when you start choosing where to focus your time, your thoughts, and your emotions, you amplify your impact. Think about the people who seem to have an undeniable presence, the ones who walk into a room and immediately command attention. It is not because they are the loudest or the most charismatic. It is because they have mastered the art of energy management. They do not waste their presence on things that do not matter. They do not engage in meaningless conflicts. They do not explain themselves to those committed to misunderstanding them. And they do not allow distractions to drain them. Instead, they channel their energy with precision. They focus on their growth, their goals, and their inner peace. And because of this, their presence becomes rare, and what is rare is valuable. When you start being intentional with your energy, people notice. They begin to realize that your time is not something to be taken for granted. They feel the difference when you choose to engage, and because your presence is no longer constant, it becomes something they respect. This is not about manipulation, it is about self-respect. It is about understanding that just because someone demands your attention does not mean they deserve it. Not every situation requires a response. Not every person deserves access to you. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is learning when to pull back. Not as an emotional reaction, not as a way to test people, but as a conscious decision to protect your peace. If something is draining you more than it is adding to you, it is not worth your energy. If someone only values you when you are constantly available, they do not truly value you. And if a situation consistently leaves you feeling depleted, it is a sign that it is misaligned with who you are becoming. But stepping back does not mean isolating yourself. It does not mean closing yourself off from connection. It means creating space for the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences to enter your life. When you are always available, always accessible, always pouring into others without refilling yourself, you do not give life the chance to show you what is possible. But when you become intentional, when you learn to say no, when you prioritize your energy, you create room for what is truly meant for you. This is not an easy shift to make. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. You may feel guilt, fear, or even resistance from those who have become accustomed to your constant availability. But the more you practice, the more you will realize that protecting your energy is not selfish. It is necessary. Because when you are drained, when you are exhausted, when you have nothing left to give, you are not serving anyone, not yourself, not others, not your purpose. So, take a step back. Assess where your energy is going. Ask yourself if the things you are giving your time and attention to are truly adding to your life. And if they are not, have the courage to redirect your focus. Because when you do, you will not only raise your value in the eyes of others, you will elevate yourself in a way that allows you to move through life with clarity, confidence, and purpose. There comes a moment when you realize that the only person responsible for how you are treated, how you feel, and what you experience in life is you. It is easy to blame others, to point to their lack of appreciation, their inconsistency, their failure to see your worth. But the truth is, people only treat you the way you allow them to, the way you carry yourself, the way you respond, the standards you uphold. All of these things set the foundation for how others engage with you. If you are constantly being taken for granted, overlooked, or undervalued, it is not just about them. It is about what you have been willing to accept. Raising your value does not begin with demanding more from others. It begins with demanding more from yourself. It is about shifting your focus from trying to make others see you to seeing yourself fully first. When you become clear about your worth, when you no longer entertain what does not align with you, when you stop trying to convince people of your value, something powerful happens. The energy you once spent seeking is redirected toward creating. Instead of waiting for external validation, you cultivate an inner confidence that radiates without effort. And when that shift happens, the world responds accordingly. But this requires honesty. You have to be willing to look at the areas where you have settled, where you have compromised, where you have betrayed your own standards in the hope of receiving something from someone else. Maybe you have stayed in spaces that drained you because you feared being alone. Maybe you have accepted less than you deserve because you did not fully believe you could have more. Maybe you have given your time, your energy, your attention freely, thinking that if you just gave enough, eventually you would be valued in return. But real value is not created through overextension. It is created through boundaries, through self-respect, through an unshakable belief that you do not need to prove yourself to be worthy. Think about the people who command respect effortlessly. They are not the ones who chase approval or exhaust themselves trying to earn recognition. They are the ones who hold themselves to a high standard, who move with certainty, who know that their worth is not defined by external validation. They are the ones who understand that true power does not come from being seen. It comes from knowing that you do not have to be. And because of that, they naturally attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences. When you take full responsibility for your energy, your time, and your presence, you start to see the patterns that have been playing out in your life. You recognize where you have given too much and expected too little in return. You see where you have tolerated inconsistency, where you have allowed access without requiring effort, where you have shown up fully for people who have only given you fragments of themselves. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You realize that the power has been in your hands all along. But this shift is not about bitterness. It is not about closing yourself off or shutting people out. It is about refinement. It is about being intentional with where your energy flows, about choosing relationships and experiences that reflect your worth instead of trying to force validation from spaces that were never meant for you. It is about showing up for yourself in the way you have always wished others would. And in doing so, you teach the world how to treat you, not through words, not through ultimatums, but through action. When you raise your standards, some people will fall away. Not everyone will be willing to rise to meet you. And that is okay. Let them go. Because the ones who belong in your life, the ones who truly see you, will recognize your value without needing to be convinced. They will match your energy. They will respect your boundaries. They will appreciate your presence without you having to fight for it. And the more you embody this truth, the more you will see that everything you once chased will start flowing toward you effortlessly. So, take ownership of your worth. Stop waiting for others to give you what you should already be giving yourself. Stop seeking approval from spaces that were never meant to hold you. Stand in your value and let everything that is not aligned with that fall away. Because when you do, you will not just be raising your value in the eyes of others, you will be elevating yourself in a way that transforms every part of your life.